way better local news updates anytime. Like WWAY on Facebook. Now, here's Chief Meteorologist Scott Dean with your forecast first.
Well, it turned out to be a beautiful day on this election day. Temperatures well above average in the low 80s, and it looks like more warm weather is on the way before we see some changes to cooler temperatures and also a chance for some rain. Details straight ahead. WWAY News Channel 3 at 11 starts right now.
Live, local, interactive. This is a special edition of WWAY News Channel 3 at 11. Your voice, your vote, 2016.
Now on a special edition of WWAY at 11, it is your voice, your vote, and we are bringing you the latest numbers from the polls tonight. The polls are closed and the votes are being tallied.
Yes, tonight the results of North Carolina's primary election are coming into focus, so let's get right to it. We start with the race for the White House. On the Republican side, Donald Trump has held a dominating lead through the early primary states.
But in recent weeks, there have been blistering attacks from opponents and accusations that Trump's rhetoric is divisive and promotes violence. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Republican results. As you can see, Donald Trump taking it. On the Republican side, he also won Illinois and Florida today. In all, 72 Republican delegates at stake tonight in North Carolina. So Trump wins the state primary, but the GOP is headed for a brokered convention after a big win for John Kasich in his home state of Ohio. We have reaction from Trump as well as Marco Rubio, who dropped out after losing Florida. First, Ohio Governor Kasich.
We are going to go all the way to Cleveland and secure the Republican nomination. We've got one more trip around Ohio this coming fall where we will beat Hillary Clinton and I will become the President of the United States.
We have something happening that actually makes the Republican Party probably the biggest political story anywhere in the world. Everybody's writing about it all over Europe. All over the world, they're talking about it. Millions of people are coming in to vote. This was an example of it today.
While it is not God's plan that I be president in 2016 or maybe ever, and while today my campaign is suspended, the fact that I've even come this far is evidence of how special America truly is.
Well, just as Trump has led the GOP battle, Hillary Clinton has taken control of her Democratic Party race with Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders. She is winning North Carolina. She won tonight 55% to 41%. And of the 120 delegates to the Democratic National Convention at stake tonight, Hillary Clinton coming in with 56, Bernie Sanders coming in with 26.
Now, while the race for the White House has been hotly contested and even nasty at times, we've had our own drama right here in New Hanover County, where a state house race has seen political punches thrown early and often. WWAY weekend anchor Hannah Patrick is live at the Fox and Hound in Wilmington with reaction. Hannah.
Daniel, the race between Republicans Tammy Koval and Holly Grange went negative back in December when Koval went on attack against Grange. Koval, who is currently on the New Hanover County School Board, questioned Grange and her family's business connections to a Hillary Clinton associate and business dealings in Libya. Koval also bought the web domain hollygrange.com and used it to promote her claims against Grange. But those attacks apparently fell flat with voters. Grange has been leading the race tonight with more than 60% of the vote. With no Democrat waiting in November, this would give Grange the 20th District House seat. Rick Catlin is leaving after 2 terms.
I know that I stay true to the facts. I stay true to what I stood for, and that's always been very important to me. I don't think that politicians need to put on a show.
Koval has not been available yet tonight for comment, but Grange says she wants to continue leading a positive campaign in this election. Live in Wilmington, Hannah Patrick, WWAY News Channel 3.
Thank you, Hannah. In the 17th State House District, a GOP rematch from 2 years ago. Incumbent Frank Eiler seeking a 4th full term representing Brunswick County in Raleigh. Again, facing Marion Davis, who Eiler beat in the primary 2 years ago. Eiler wins, though, tonight with 68% of the vote. He moves on to November to face Democrat Charles Warren. Warren was once a Republican Brunswick County Commissioner before switching parties. He lost to Eiler in the general election 2 years ago. And in Bladen County, a Democratic primary challenge for incumbent William Brisson from Ben Snyder. This one was close all night long. Brisson pulling it out, though, with 53% tonight to regain his seat because there is no Republican on the ballot for this race in November. On a more local level, there was a crowded field in one party's race for New Hanover County Commission.
7 Republicans filed to run for 3 open seats, including incumbents Beth Dawson and Woody White. It was a race that saw fractures within the county GOP. So the top 3 vote getters tonight take on 3 Democrats in November. Let's look at those results. With 70% of the precincts reporting, we have Woody White, Patricia Cusick, and Derek Hickey coming out on top, but they are pretty close to Beth Dawson and Jim Brummett. For reaction from this race, and let's go back to the Fox and Hound in Wilmington with WWAY senior reporter Alexa Block. Alexa.
The New Hanover County Commission GOP race was definitely an interesting one to watch this season. A team that actually was formed with 3 candidates, Woody White, Patricia Cusick, and Jim Brummett. Tonight we're seeing if that teamwork is going to pay off for the candidates. I spoke with them earlier tonight to talk to them about this unique situation.
We had so many of the same visions and values that we wanted for New Hanover County, and we teamed up together because we knew that we would all have each other's backs.
We worked very well together. We were in sync. Yes, we didn't agree on everything, but in the long run and in the short run, we decided what was in the best interest for we 3 going forward.
To give the citizens a reference point, give them an association of, hey, you know, we like what Woody has to say most of the time. We like most of the things he does. And so these 2 might help him go on the board. We'll see how that shakes out.
Now, we are keeping a close eye on the numbers here as precincts continue to report, and those numbers are trickling in slowly but surely. Now, some of the top 3 candidates we have are Woody White, Patricia Cusick, and Derek Hickey. They're rounding out the top 3, but last time I checked, Beth Dawson had moved into that number 4 spot over Brummett, so we are still keeping an eye on that. Live in Wilmington, Alexa Block, WWAY News Channel 3.
Very good. Thank you, Alexa. Here in North Carolina, most pundits believed the primary race for governor was a mere formality.
No, but it would set up for a big battle in the fall between Republican incumbent Pat McCrory and Democrat Roy Cooper, the state's attorney general. But would the predictions hold true? Let's start with our incumbent, Governor Pat McCrory, who had 2 challengers, including former state representative Robert Brawley and Charles Moss, a former preacher and teacher. Pat McCrory winning the nomination with 82% on the Republican side. And then on the Democratic side, Cooper faced Durham attorney and former state representative Ken Spalding. Roy Cooper, again, with 69%. He will be facing McCrory in November.
North Carolina's senior senator faced a trio of primary challengers. Still ahead on this special Your Voice, Your Vote edition of WWAY News Channel 3 at 11. Could Richard Burr fend off his GOP rivals, and which Democrat will run for his seat in November?
Plus, did voters approve a $2 billion bond for transportation and other capital projects across the state? And voters in one area county decided again on whether to raise their sales tax and whether to sell alcohol in one town.
Plus, UNCW heads to the NCAA tournament. We were there as they hit the road to Rhode Island and a battle with Duke. As we head to break, more results.
Chief Meteorologist Scott Dean with your Storm Track 3 forecast.
Well, it's turned out to be a mild evening once again, like last night. Temperatures very close to our average highs for this time of year.
Scott, thank you, sir. Last spring, Governor Pat McCrory asked the General Assembly to authorize up to $3 million in bonds for road projects and government and campus building construction.
After pushback from lawmakers, the Connect NC bond question asked voters in this election to approve $2 billion for projects ranging from infrastructure and safety to improvements on college campuses and state parks. So let's see if y'all wanted it or said no to it. Looks like you wanted it. 65% going for it, and that passed. And that was not the only question on the ballot for some voters in our area.
No, it wasn't. Bladen County voters were asked for the third time in 2 years and fourth time since 2010 to approve a quarter-cent sales tax, while residents of White Lake decided whether to allow alcohol sales. So let's check it out, starting with White Lake in the vote for wine sales. White Lake will be dry no more. Wine sales passing 61 to 39%. Voters were also asked about selling malt beverages. Here the vote goes. That's a 4-2, 62% to 38%.
And as for that county-wide quarter penny sales tax, 64% against. It fails once again. Well, 7 candidates want Richard Burr's job in Washington. Could North Carolina's senior senator win a chance to defend his seat in the general election? The results are next.
Plus, voters whittled down the crowded field for New Hanover County School Board and other local races. First, though, more results.
There are 3 seats up for grabs this year on the Brunswick County Commission.
That includes the District 3 and 4 seats, which had primary races today. In District 3, incumbent Pat Sykes faced a Republican primary challenge from Jim Medlin. Sykes, an easy winner tonight with 56% of the vote. She moves on to the November general election to face Democrat William Flythe.
And then there's an open seat in District 4 with Republican Scott Phillips not seeking re-election. 3 fellow Republicans battled for the nomination, and Mike Forte coming in with that win, 43% with 100% of those precincts reporting. So who will Forte face in November? In the Democratic primary for District 4, Brenda Faye McMillan with 72%, a big winner.
All right, there are also 3 seats up for re-election on the Brunswick County School Board, including 1 open seat as Bud Thorson decided not to seek another term in District 1 after 18 years on the board in 2 separate tenures. 3 Republicans running for his seat. This one goes to Ed Lemon, who got nearly 40% of the vote, holding off Gene Stedman Jr. and Joey Causey. There is no Democrat on the ballot in November.
And then in District 2, incumbent Republican Catherine Cook faced 2 primary challengers as she sought a 3rd term. Cook will be the GOP nominee after winning 37%, just ahead of Steve Ray. Democrat Sharon Crawford awaits Cook in the fall. And then in District 4, a GOP primary featuring incumbent Shirley Babson, who has served on the board for 24 years, over 2 tenures since 1976, and challenger Ellen Milligan. Babson's run has come to an end. Milligan beating her out with 64% of that vote. Milligan faces Democrat Mary Menser in November. And then back across the river to New Hanover County and the crowded battle for school board.
Crowded it was. Right now, all 7 of the board's seats are held by Republicans. 3 were up for grabs, and that includes an open seat with Tammy Koval running for State House. The other 2 incumbents, Lisa Estep and Jeanette Nichols, faced 2 other Republican hopefuls, with the top 3 moving on to the general election. We have 95% reporting on this one. Lisa Estep, David Lee Wortman, and Jeanette Nichols coming in with the most votes as of right now.
And then 5 Democrats faced off for 3 spots on the November ballot, with 95% of precincts reporting. The people coming in on top are Emma Saunders, Sandra Lee, and Kevin Spears.
All right, we do want to check in again on the race for the 20th District State House race between New Hanover County School Board member Tammy Koval and Holly Grange. We are calling this one, my friends, 88% reporting, but it is called Holly Grange is going to be headed to the November elections.
When Republican Richard Burr won re-election 6 years ago, he was the first person to win a second term to that U.S. Senate seat since Democrat Sam Ervin held it for 20 years starting in 1954.
Yeah, this year, Senator Burr is gunning to be the first Republican ever to win the seat 3 times. Tonight, Burr had a primary challenge from 3 other candidates, but none strong enough to unseat the senator for the primary. Richard Burr coming in strong with 62% of the vote. He has no problem headed to November. There are also 4 Democrats hoping to win their party's nomination for Senate. Checking it out, Deborah Ross coming in. This one has been called, so it will be Richard Burr against former State House member Deborah Ross.
When you voted, you likely saw races for the U.S. House of Representatives on your ballot. Those elections will now be held June 7th after a federal court ruling made the General Assembly redraw the district lines to eliminate race as a factor. So any of the votes cast for U.S. House in today's election will not be counted.
North Carolina will have a new attorney general this year for the first time since 2000.
That is because, as we told you earlier, Democrat Roy Cooper is running for governor. And of course, he didn't seek another term as the state's top law enforcer. On the Democratic side, let's look at the results. Josh Stein with 54%. We are calling that, even though we have 82% of the precincts reporting.
He will face the winner of the Republican race in November, and that's going to be Buck Newton, 55% of the vote. It has been called. Buck Newton is headed to the November election. We check in on some other headlines from the day when WWAY News Channel 3 at 11 continues.
Yes, the Seahawks were wings up for NCAA tournament. What they had to say before heading off for their dance with Duke next.
Let's take a break from the seriousness of the primaries and talk about Seahawk Mania taking over the Port City as the UNCW men's basketball team heads to the NCAA tournament.
Yes, they will face the Duke Blue Devils on Thursday in a West Regional matchup. UNCW will be an underdog, but the Seahawks have been successful in the big dance in the past. UNCW held a send-off celebration today on campus. It was colorful and full of the teal spirit.
We're very proud of them, and I think it's all part of this building the Seahawk community to become an even effective community and to be a part of representing this great university.
And it's not just the men's basketball team heading to Providence on a charter flight. The Seahawk cheerleaders, dance team, and mascot all left campus today with a police escort.
Good luck. The state officials hosted a public hearing to discuss the possibility of an industrial landfill at the Sutton Power Plant. Duke Energy is seeking a permit to construct a landfill for the coal ash there. The public has until April 15th to comment on the permits, but at tonight's hearing, no one spoke. Jamie Kritzer with the North Carolina Division of Waste Management says the drafts take safety into account.
The idea is to make sure that the coal ash is moved from coal ash impoundments, where it has been for decades, into safe areas.
About 5 million tons of coal ash would be dumped in that landfill.
New at 11, college soccer at Legion Stadium. Tonight, Wilmington City Council voted to allow Cape Fear Community College men and women's soccer teams to use Legion Stadium. The 2-year agreement would prevent CFCC from having to postpone games due to muddy conditions on their own fields. Well, after the break, we check in with Chief Meteorologist Scott Dean one last time. Stay with us.
It will be a little bit cooler for St. Patty's Day. Highs in the 70s, but still well above average. And then cooler still on Friday as we drop into the 60s. There could be a storm system that could give us some rain Saturday night and Sunday. We'll get a better handle on that as we get closer to it, but it does look like it will turn cooler by early next week.
We have the leprechaun there on Thursday for St. Patrick's Day, and the White House is celebrating St. Patrick's Day a little early, hosting Ireland's head of government and dyeing the water in the South Grounds fountain green.
Yes, the tradition actually started 7 years ago when the First Lady requested that the White House fountain be dyed green, similar to the Chicago tradition. So,
yeah, it's not moldy. It's on.
Oh, you have a good night now.
That's pretty good.
Have a great night, y'all. Go to WWAYTV3.com for more election results.